The January figures are in, and Earth's string of hottest months on record has now reached 9 in a row. But NASA says January stood out, the temperature was above normal by the highest margin of any month on record. And January set another record. Arctic sea ice reached its lowest point for that ice-building winter month. NASA said January 2016 was 2.03 degrees Fahrenheit, 1.13 degrees Celsius, above normal. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, which calculates temperatures differently, said last month was 1.87 degrees Fahrenheit, 1.04 degrees Celsius, which is the second biggest margin in history. NOAA said the greatest was this past December. January's average global temperature was a record 55.5 degrees Fahrenheit, 13 degrees Celsius, easily beating the old January record set in 2007, according to NOAA. Records go back to 1880. There were colder than normal patches in parts of the US, Europe and Asia in January. But they were overwhelmed by incredible off-our-chart warming in the Arctic region, according to NOAA climate scientist Jessica Blunden. Siberia, northwest Canada, and a lot of Alaska were at least 9 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than normal, she said. That heat was why there was record low sea ice in the Arctic for this time of year, when sea ice grows, Blunden said. January Arctic sea ice averaged only 5.2 million square miles in January, which is 90,000 square miles below the previous record set in 2011, according to the National Snow and Ice Data Center. It's also 402,000 square miles, about the size of Texas and New Mexico, combined less than the 30-year normal. The string of 9 consecutive record hot months matches June 1997 to February 1998, which was the last time Earth had a large El Niño. It is still behind the 10 straight months of record heat in 1944, Blunden said. It's likely we'll tie that record in February, she said. The current El Niño, an occasional natural warming of parts of the Pacific that changes weather around the world and spikes global temperatures, is tied with 1997 to 1998 for the strongest on record, according to NOAA. And while it has been predicted to ease soon, it has not lessened yet, said NOAA Climate Prediction Center Deputy Director Mike Halpert. NASA Chief Climate Scientist Gavin Schmidt blamed the record heat mostly on man-made climate change, with an assist from El Niño. The news comes just a month after NASA declared 2015 the hottest year on record. The Japan's meteorological agency has backed up the latest claim, after reporting that January's global land and sea surface temperatures were 0.52 degrees above the average. Temperatures in January are rising at the rate of about 0.75 degrees per century, the agency added. El Niño is believed to have hit a peak in January, which contributed to the record-breaking temperatures. UT's Thomas R. Carl, director of NOAA's National Centers for Environmental Information, said last year, "The trend over time is why we're having a record warm year." Discover magazine points out that global land temperatures have been increasingly steadily since 1880. Meanwhile, warm temperatures in the Arctic during January have been linked to a different phenomenon known as the Arctic Oscillation. This involves differences in air pressure over the Arctic and lower latitudes. If past events help predict future ones, then we have probably reached the peak of the 2015-2016 El Niño, NASA said last month. Warmer than average waters in the eastern tropical Pacific Ocean should start to cool off and shift westward. El Niños are triggered when the steady, westward blowing trade winds in the Pacific weaken or even reverse direction, triggering a dramatic warming of the upper ocean in the central and eastern tropical Pacific. Clouds and storms follow the warm water, pumping heat and moisture high into the overlying atmosphere. These changes alter jet stream paths and affect storm tracks all over the world. This year's El Niño has caused the warm water layer that is normally piled up around Australia and Indonesia to thin dramatically, while in the eastern tropical Pacific, the normally cool surface waters are blanketed with a thick layer of warm water. This massive redistribution of heat causes ocean temperatures to rise from the central Pacific to the Americas. It has sapped Southeast Asia's rain in the process, reducing rainfall over Indonesia and contributing to the growth of massive wildfires that have blanketed the region in choking smoke. El Niño is also implicated in Indian heat waves caused by delayed monsoon rains, as well as Pacific Island sea level drops, widespread coral bleaching that is damaging coral reefs, droughts in South Africa, flooding in South America and a record-breaking hurricane season in the eastern tropical Pacific. Even as the El Niño weather phenomenon continues to impact global temperatures and crops, its counterpart La Niña is increasingly expected to emerge in the coming months for the first time in 4 years. The return of La Niña, Spanish for the girl and characterized by unusually cold ocean temperatures, is possible later this year, the forecaster have said.